Hi there, it's Keith, hoping you're well. Thank you for joining me on this session on keeping yourself motivated and building successful habits. Over the next 35 to 45 minutes, we're going to cover a couple of sections covering those two areas, motivation and looking at habits. Now, what I've done as well with this particular session is there are two section reviews that you'll be invited to go through with some questions relating to this session that will allow you to kind of take some extra feedback, make sure you're taking things on board, and even just write down a few extra notes for yourself as you go through as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go straight into the screen share, tell you a bit more about the session, and we'll move forward from there. So let's get this started now. Here we go. And not too far away. Bear me 1 second. Here it comes. And yeah, here we go. So ready, set, go. So yeah, 35 to 45 minutes for this particular session here. But what we're going to do is just broken it down into a couple of different sections. But just a bit of an introduction today. You probably already know this, most people do, but just to kind of give it all some context. Everyone has habits, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's for sure. Some are useful, but other habits may not be quite so beneficial. So to begin with, we need to know what a habit is and how to define it. So habit is a settled or regular tendency or practice, especially one that is hard to give up. Now, some you don't want to give up, but there may be one or two that we want to look at that you do. Here's the thing. In fact, a lot of the time, habits just happen. We don't even have to think about doing them, like brushing your teeth, getting dressed, or even a journey that you take on a regular basis. They will all fit into the habit category, okay? So here's the thing, let's remember, there are good habits that you don't want or need to give up. And there are some not so good habits that perhaps don't serve you quite so well. The difference between good, not so good, or bad are usually defined by the person they affect. Although there's going to be times when you're told by others that your habit is perhaps not the most desirable. But a lot of the time, you kind of know the difference between some habits you want to keep and some that you don't. That's what we're going to look at today, okay? Now, when you think about motivation, lots of different ways you can think about it. I've broken it into a few. Motivation can be the key ingredient to the success of any new undertaking you choose to begin. Motivation is very much about mindset and how you choose to view things. Good day, bad day, your interpretation, but that's how your motivation sits. Your view on what success looks like can vary through any process, and it's important to keep on checking in on yourself to allow you to stay focused, keep refreshing yourself so you can keep moving forwards. Motivation all starts with thinking about the value to you of your goal or goals that you might have and how you decide to view them. So we're going to spend some time looking at motivations as we go through today. But again, it's really important that we look at what a motivation actually is. So motivation is a reason or reasons for acting or behaving in a particular way. For others, it could be a desire or willingness to do something with enthusiasm. But very often, motivation is the starting point for a change or something new. Look at all those New Year's resolutions you get in January for people. Often that's a new motivation, so that's a good example there. What's important is that motivation comes from having some kind of goal or object to head for. Personal or professional, it will inspire effort and an aim for a desired result or outcome. Okay. So as I said, we've basically got a couple of, or two different topics today. Habits and then followed by motivation, broken into two sections. Now what I've done is, at the end of each section, there is a section review, if you like, to go through and just answer a couple of questions and do a few exercises just to make sure you've got the most from each section and you've got some answers and ideas to move forwards with. Now, you're invited basically to travel all the way through the session if you want to and come back and cover those section reviews, or pause it and then complete the section reviews and then continue after that. What I've done as part of a session guide that accompanies this is there are time frames for each of the areas we're covering today. So it'll say like habit starts at minute 10, the reviews at minute 20 or something along those lines, so that you've got some ways of coming back and reviewing the topics and information, if you like, at a later date. But it's all laid out for you. You should hopefully have those session review guides. If not, please drop me a line and I'll make sure that you know how to find them. Anyway, let's move forward with section 1. We're going to start by looking at habits. Now, here's the thing. Every habit starts with a psychological pattern, which is called a habit loop. You may have come across this before, but there's 3 steps that are involved in this. The first thing is a trigger. This is the thing that tells our brain to go into an automatic mode, if you like, okay? The second thing is a routine, which is the behavior itself, okay? And the third thing is the reward, something our brain likes that helps remember that habit loop, okay? So, for example, you may know people that love a couple of chocolate biscuits with a cup of tea. So the trigger for them basically is they switch the kettle on, they think about the biscuits. The routine is they move over, they take 3 biscuits from the packet. The reward is it feels like it's something nice, it's reassuring, and for those moments, it makes them feel good. Now, we all know sometimes with those habits that you can also then feel pretty rubbish about it. So I think, I didn't really want those biscuits. What could I do differently? And that's where we're going to look at switching habits, if you like, for a more beneficial one. But that is the idea of a habit loop, okay? Now, some other examples of this is you might be learning a sport. So to begin with, it'd be difficult to learn, and you develop a mental focus towards learning. Then after a while through playing, it becomes second nature and it actually happens naturally. If you've ever driven or you're taking lessons in a car, you may remember it's very difficult to kind of get the coordination, and then very quickly you pick it up and it's like you don't even have to think about it, it just happens. Now, same with sports, but as it says here, in other words, the action becomes automatic and the decision-making part of your brain goes into kind of a sleep mode. And as some will testify, there's people with habits that they don't even remember pouring themselves a drink, lighting a cigarette, or reaching for a bar of chocolate. It's just a naturally occurring habit. It just happens. They don't even realize. And that's how embedded it is, okay? Now, changing a habit can rely on a number of different things. One of them, and importantly, being a desire to want to change the habit, okay? You'll need to find a strong reason as to why you want to change that habit, something that will help you focus and allow you to find a positive reason to stick to your newly chosen path. Very often, it'll be about finding a motivation. Habit, change, and motivation are usually very closely linked, and you'll see that as we go through this session today. So, a bit more on habits. Often we are looking to make a change, and you can feel upset or even let down by yourself if for some reason you switch back into an old habit. But it's important to remember this. Failure equals feedback. And in the nicest possible way, there are no mistakes, only results, opportunities to learn, okay? Now, without failure and mistakes, learning would not be possible. People often forget that. So it's like, why did I slip today? What happened? Is there something that triggered that situation? So what could I do to change that so I get a different outcome or a different result next time? So it's always important that if something doesn't go quite to plan, you're not afraid to go back and learn why and learn from it rather than being upset, down in the dumps. It just gives you an opportunity to move forwards, okay? The other thing to remember with habits as well is whether this is for yourself or for someone that you know, everyone has the resource to make a change. So here's the thing you've got to think about. Here's a little pattern for you. Do, fail, learn, do better next time. And this is what people sometimes tend to forget. They just think habits are going to happen, but you've got to learn from each experience. So important to remember as well. But generally speaking, it takes up to 28 days to develop a new habit. The more you do something, the more automatic it will become. So please remember that. So if you are trying to break in a new habit, the more you do it, the more natural it becomes. Just like maybe those old habits that you don't want or don't serve you quite so well. Okay. Now, one of the first things to do if you're looking to replace an unwanted habit is you have to start by identifying a trigger or what the trigger is. So here's the things to start thinking about, and you may begin with actually start making a list to help you do this. So first of all, think about this. What is the habit that you wish to replace? And focus on one at a time when you do this. Why do you want to replace that habit? Is there a time of day that it generally occurs? Okay. Where does the habit take place? Okay. Are other people involved? So say, for example, you meet up with a friend, they like a cigarette, you like one too. They're potentially a trigger. It's your friend that you meet, you don't ordinarily do it. Makes sense? Is there something else that happened that first leads up to this trigger? and how do you feel afterwards? That just allows you to think about it. Now, when it says about how do you feel afterwards, when the trigger happens, is there a response? Do you smile? Do you feel happy? Do you get like a warm sensation in your hands? Anything like that at all? So if there's anything that triggers you, you can kind of learn to recognize those signals. Okay. So here's an idea for you. If you wanted to be more productive at work, what you might do is start by tracking your behavior for a few days. And what you may realize is you're less productive than you'd like to be when you don't have a sense of achievement at the start of your day. For some people, they need that. So what happens if you feel like you haven't achieved anything at the start of the day? You feel a bit flat. So then maybe you get a bit distracted. You decide not to follow a plan for the day. You take a break. You look at your phone. You lose a bit of time doing that. So the knock-on effect could result in you being less positive and upbeat when you're interacting with people. So you can see how one thing affects another throughout your day. So if you want to be more productive, what sets you on a line to being less productive? So have a look at that. Then what you can do basically is, well, if I've identified that trigger, what can I do differently? Well, maybe you've noticed over 3 or 4 days of tracking your behaviors that when you do have a good day, you start off really well if you've had a sense of achievement, which might be interacting with a client, saying good morning, giving them a bit of advice. Perhaps you have a good workout yourself to set up your day, so you feel like you've completed a task, so now you're kind of rocking and rolling, moving forwards. What it will then do is have a knock-on effect, so it will feel like if this has gone well, you're set up to talk to another potential customer about booking a trial. So now you start to follow your plan of action for the day because you think, well, actually, this is going quite well. Then time is flying by and you're getting lots done. You're feeling productive. So here's the thing. You've noticed those 2 patterns. So if you now decide to try something, can you achieve it? Is the positive start of your day the thing that you need to see? So remove the trigger so you don't feel flat. So make sure I've got a sense of achievement to begin with. Now I feel less distracted and I feel good about achieving lots of little goals throughout my day. Once you've recognized this kind of thing, it makes the routine of being less productive easier to break because you feel better about being productive. So it's just simple little steps, but it starts with just kind of thinking about what happens on the good days and the days where maybe you're not quite as happy as you'd like to. Okay. Another thing about if you're thinking about changing to a more beneficial habit, really important is it's important to establish a why when you're looking to make a change, okay? It can be easy to change a habit if there's a value attached to it for you. So be it health, financial, and ultimately your happiness. So take just a few minutes, and what you need to do is kind of make a little list for yourself. So if you're looking to change a habit, why am I looking to do it? And then again, think about what are the benefits for me to do this? The why and the benefits of changing a habit will allow you to kind of refocus on that and feel good about trying to change an old habit that doesn't serve you, and it will keep you focused on moving forwards again, okay? If you can, keep this list on your phone, keep it in your pocket, whatever it happens to be easy, so you've got access to it. So you can regularly review it throughout the day and make sure you're moving forwards. And it will serve as a reminder each time you see it, and it will help you stay on track, okay? So here's the things you think about. You need to do that to think about what you want to change, okay? So when you do want to introduce a more beneficial habit, really important, you need to find a better one to replace the old one. And it should have a far easier time making a change if you can get something that's easy to begin with, okay? So an example, if you're trying to eat better or avoid the wrong snacks, rather than rushing to a shop, to a vending machine, can you prepare and bring healthy alternatives to reach for and replace the old habit? I'd imagine that's probably second nature for you guys working in this kind of area, but something that you've got for yourself or to share with a client perhaps. Each time you do this and you need to fall back into the old habit, it reduces. So remember from earlier what we said, it takes around 28 days to establish a new habit. As you start to feel the benefits of your new habit, it will start to make you feel more motivated to continue, and very quickly move away from the old habit, the new one sticks, and you wonder why you never did it before. You've probably had this kind of thing that happened to you previously, but this is just kind of giving it a bit of structure and a bit of thought for the future. So when you introduce a new, more beneficial habit, take a moment to think about and make some notes. What is the old habit? Why do I wish to change it? What's my reason for doing this? You need a strong why, remember that. But what is the new habit you're going to replace it with? Because it's all very well saying, I want to stop this habit, but what can you replace it with? What can you do differently that's more beneficial? But take some time to think about it. Make some notes. If you want to pause it here and have a quick think, do so. If not, come back at the end of the session and make sure that you complete this exercise. Okay. Something that's really important to think about when you are looking to make a change to a habit, maybe it's a big one or a small one, whatever it happens to be. Really important to think about this. Be kind to yourself. Be ready for some bumps along the way, because it's not always easy to change something that's been there for a long time. It can be tough. So different people will encounter different things along the way in terms of success, but it's important to remember there'll be times that you're going to slip back. It happens. If it does happen, rather than punish yourself and feel like you've done something wrong, it can get easy then to give into self-sabotage the next day. Stop for a moment and reset. Just give yourself a break. Be kind. This is all about a learning process. So if something's happened to make you slip back into an old habit, what were the steps leading up to it? Is there something you can think about and maybe prevent again next time? Okay? So as I said, remember, all about learning. So if there's something you can do, ask yourself a few questions. Was there something that changed leading up to it, or something that changed today to make this happen? Was there a reason for me to slip into this old habit? What did or can I learn from this to improve from the future? But here's the thing to set yourself. What am I going to do differently next time? What am I going to do differently tomorrow? The idea being that you take that experience and do something positive with it. You then don't feel bad. You're then more able to move forwards again. Okay. So a few tips when you're thinking about breaking a habit. Success to changing and staying in good habits is to keep an eye on and learn what's holding you back. Okay. Building a new habit is about staying consistent. It doesn't matter how well you get along on an individual day. Consistent and sustained effort is what makes the real difference. So one good day is a good start, then make it 2, then make it 3, up to 7, then it's going to be a week, then it's going to be a month, and so on. So think about being consistent with your habit. And for that reason, when you start a new habit, it should be easy, so you can't say no to it. Okay? Hoping those bits have made sense so far, but what I'd love you to do just for this first section is carry out a quick review. So if you get a moment, pause this now and complete these sections. So take some time to think about habits at work that don't serve you well, okay? But what's the better habit that I can replace it with? And don't forget, what I'd love you to do as well is add a really good reason why, to understand why you need to change and why you feel this way. So step 1, what's the habit you want to replace? What is a habit that would be better and more beneficial? But what are the reasons why you want to make this change? Make it strong so you can keep yourself motivated, and it'll click you straight back into why you're changing if you feel that you're about to slip. Okay, so just for a moment, if you want to carry out this section review, pause it now, and I will see you at the beginning of section 2 in just a few moments. Okay, welcome back. Here we are, section 2, motivation. This is where we're going to do some focus now. So, just to kind of give a bit of a recap. So motivation is basically a key ingredient to success of any new undertaking you choose to begin. Motivation is very much about mindset and how you choose to view things. We've all heard the old story, glass half full, glass half empty. Generally speaking, the more motivated people, the one that sees the glass as half full, more positive rather than empty, which sounds like you're going backwards. So we've all got examples of it. But your view on what success looks like can vary through any process. It's important to keep checking in on yourself to allow you to stay focused and keep refreshing yourself so you can keep on moving forwards. So the idea is, what's my motivations? How motivated am I feeling today? And is this leading me in a good direction? If I'm feeling motivated, keep moving forwards. If I'm not feeling so motivated, why? Has something slowed me down? Has something stopped me? Do I need to review what I'm about today? Okay. So motivation all starts with thinking about the value to you of your goal or the goals that you have and how you decide to view them. Motivation, the goals they're aiming or directed towards are linked, which is why before setting off your goal, they need to be clear. So what is my goal? Where am I going? Why do I want to achieve it? Kind of keeps you focused. This is where working smart can be extremely useful. Now, I'm sure you've all heard of working smart before, and at some point in your life, people have said, work smart, not hard. But the idea basically is, let's just recap on this, because we all probably know that SMART is specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. We all know the acronym. However, what does it actually mean? What I've done is just kind of broken it down for you here. So when you are thinking about working SMART, it's a guide to setting goals that you can achieve. So the first starting point is specific. In that area there, that heading, think about what is it you want to accomplish and why? When and where will you achieve this goal? What are the challenges that are involved in achieving this goal? So you're getting right down to the point of how can I make this happen? But what's really important then is to think about the measurable side of things. But the questions to answer under that topic are, how many? How much do you want to achieve? We've heard people say, I want to lose weight, yeah, but how much? I want to earn more money, but how much? Because do you want to earn an extra pound, £10, £100, £1,000? So think about what you actually want to achieve. And here's the thing to think about when you get to measurable as well. How will you know when you achieve that goal? So if it's more money, more finances, for example, you can look at that in terms of your income, okay? Achievable. Under this header, think about these questions. What steps do you need to take to achieve your goal? Is it putting a plan in place? Is it learning something new? Here's the other thing to think about. Are you able to grow and expand to attain seemingly impossible goals? So the idea is, what are you prepared to do to get there? Is it a learning curve? Do you need to ask somebody some questions? Do you need to review how you work? Anything like that, but what makes it achievable? Okay. Realistic, again, really important things to think about under this heading. So ask yourself these questions. How will this goal help you attain happiness and fulfillment? Okay. And is this a goal aligned with your values, your strengths, and your needs? So let's say, for example, it is about earning more money. Great. But here's the thing. How does it actually help you as well? Not just in terms of earning more money, but what are you going to do with it? And when you do get there, how happy is it going to make you? What are you going to do with it in terms of, are you going to take breaks, holidays, etc.? Is the goal aligned with your values? What is it you need to make this happen? What strengths are you going to have to call upon to make you get there? Okay. And then the last question to ask yourself under timely is, what can be done towards achieving this goal? Is where you start to plan. So what can you do in the next 6 weeks? Or sorry, 6 days, 6 weeks, 6 months, jumping the gun a bit there. But the idea basically is to look at your goal and set some time frames around it. It's all very well, again, saying I'd like to earn £1,000 extra. But is that going to be in a week, in a month, in a year? So think about that, so you've actually got something to work towards. Otherwise, again, your goals can just drift. That's how SMART breaks down, okay? So again, while you're starting to look at this, before you start to build your motivation, it's important to review these points linked to your goal or goals, okay? So what we're going to do in a little while is, when you start on this, at the end of this session, part of your end of section review, which we're going to do, I'm going to ask you to take some time to think about and write a note next to each of the points we just discussed, okay? Just so you get some thoughts and ideas out of your head. Writing them down can bring them into reality, and that will be your start. Okay? So we'll give you those, the acronym again at the end, but that will be part of your section review, okay? But here's something that's really important. Even with a plan, sometimes your motivation can fluctuate. But why is that? It's going to take a bit of time to look at that now. So we know motivation can come in many forms. Sometimes it's easy. You wake up with desire just to try something new, carry out a task, or just get on with a job you've been putting off. You just wake up full of beans and you want to get on with it. It also gives you the energy to get started. And if all goes well, you can see benefits to your efforts, it will give you the strength to see it through to the end. So maybe that's the start of a workout to get you to the end of the workout, for example, or it's a big goal that's going to take you a year. Each good day towards it helps you keep moving forward to that ultimate goal. But there's also other occasions when your motivation needs to be sustained to carry out a task or reach a new goal, or perhaps change a habit that will require a longer term commitment. Planning and even doing something that challenges or scares you in a new way, okay? So these are some of the things to think about when you're starting out, but here's what can happen. If you find your motivation is fluctuating, there can be a list of reasons. I'm going to run through some of them. And then as we move forward, I'm just going to give you a little bit more background to each one so you can recognize it and move around it, if that makes sense. So here's some of the reasons your motivation can fluctuate. First of all, you can lack a strong reason why you're actually heading towards a particular goal. Okay? There is also the potential that your goal feels too big. I've set this great goal, it looks brilliant, but whoa, this is scaring me now. It's so big, it feels difficult. There's also the possibility you can have the reverse of that. Perhaps your goal does not inspire you. It's too easy. Doesn't really sort of get you excited or want you to kind of chase after it. There's also the potential of fear of failure. What if I don't achieve this goal? We'll spend some more time looking at that in just a second. There's also a possibility that right now, you don't believe in yourself. Something's happened to your confidence. So we're going to spend a little bit of time looking at that. There's also the possibility that you've got too many things going on in your life. If that happens, it becomes a kind of balancing, or you're juggling too many things. It's difficult to focus, difficult to move forwards on one thing. And sometimes, and this can be something that people tend to do, you want to achieve your goal yesterday. It seems to be taking longer than you thought. Often people want a quick fix, a quick result, and doesn't always work out that way. Certainly not for things that are worthwhile. And again, we're going to spend some time looking at how you work with that. So, what we're going to do as we're going through here, just for a second, is it's extremely important that you stop yourself right now and check on this list, on this slide, and then be honest with yourself. Okay, so here's the list. You lack a strong reason why. Your goals feel too big. Your goals do not inspire you. There's a fear of failure attached to your goal. Right now, you don't believe in yourself. You haven't got enough confidence. You have too many things going on in your life, and you want to achieve your goal yesterday. It seems to be taking longer than you thought. So stop for a second, check the things on this list, and be honest. Is there anything on here that's holding you back? And if so, how does it make you feel? Okay. When you've taken some time to do that, it's important that you then move forward. Okay. Why is this so important? Well, because if you can identify the next step you need to take to feel motivated, often conscious or unconscious roadblocks holding us back, you can find a way around them. Great stuff. So over the following slides, we're going to take some time to get you thinking about and take action to move past some of these potential roadblocks. What you can then do, when you've got time or on another day, come back and review these points again and again if you're feeling a bit stuck. And each time you review them, you'll find new answers and better ways to keep moving forwards. There's no problem of allowing yourself to get stuck for a moment, as long as you're looking at it as a way to learn and give yourself the tools to be able to move forward again. There's always a way around or a way past a roadblock, that's for sure. So here's the things we're going to do now. We're going to have a few look at the next few slides and see what we can do to get past some of these challenges. So the first thing we're going to look at is why. And if you lack a strong reason why, it's really important that you review this. So if the reason why you're doing something is not strong enough, then it's important that you really think about what you want to do. Something, and perhaps even consider if your why needs adjusting. Is it strong enough? Does it keep you focused? Is it enough to keep bringing you back to a positive frame of mind? So here's the thing to do. Look at the pros and cons of your reason why. Ask yourself this. What are the consequences if you do? And what are the consequences if you don't? So if you decide to stop moving towards your goal, what are the consequences if you do stop? But what are the consequences if you don't and you allow yourself to keep moving forward? There's going to be positives that come out of this. Okay? If your goal feels too big, now this can happen. Stop for a moment, and can you break it into smaller, more manageable chunks? So rather than just having your plan for the year looks like this, how do you get there? This week, end of the month, 3 months, 6 months, to get you to that 12-month plan. So start by doing this. Think about your starting point, where you are right now and where you'd like to get to, the goal that you want to achieve. Now, as it says here, the distance may look massive, but this will be your first step because you can now identify that first small goal to get you started. And generally speaking, once you get started, the next steps start to become clearer on your path to getting to your ultimate goal. So think about this. Realistically, how much time do you need to get there? And importantly, how will I celebrate achieving that first step once I've taken it? Often after seeing the first step, the next steps become a lot easier to see and certainly a lot easier to measure. And they motivate you each time you achieve one. Now, one of the things you'll find, if you haven't come across it already, there are more ideas on this on the Planning and Tracking Your Success webinar. So do look out for that if you haven't come across it already. Okay? Um, if your goal doesn't inspire you, now there are people that make their goals a little bit too easy. So what that means is it's not challenging you enough. So can you now weigh up the size of your goals and each step it takes to get there? Now, what you want is to be able to achieve your goals along the journey, but if they're too easy, you'll hardly notice them, okay? So how or can you challenge yourself a little more? So think about this for a second. Is there a little bit extra you can add to make your goals more inspiring, okay? So if, for example, you're saying about picking up one client every 2 weeks or one new client every 2 weeks, can it be 2 clients every 2 weeks or 2 clients a week or whatever it happens to be? Just make it a little bit more challenging so you've got something to really shoot towards, okay? If you do add an extra layer and you achieve it, then brilliant. Make sure you celebrate that success. Well done. But ask yourself, can you now add something more for next time? Again, was it too easy? Can I add a further challenge? If you challenge yourself, you achieve it, keep going. What else can you add into the mix? If for some reason you don't, or all of a sudden the goal suddenly gets out of reach, step back a level until you're ready to move forwards again. But here's the thing, and you probably do this all the time with your clients. Progress is about finding a benchmark and then seeing if you can raise it, okay? Now, there's also the potential of fear of failure. Now, with this, often when we're doing something different, there can be the worry, what if I get this wrong? Or am I going to embarrass myself and show myself up in front of people? But here's the thing to remember. The fear of something that might happen is generally worse than the action itself. So the fear of failure can be scary. But actually, the reality is if you actually do and succeed, it wasn't that challenging or that tough at all. It's just there's a barrier you're putting up mentally. Something maybe in the past has put you off. And here's the thing, and forgive me for going back to a very old drink, bit of advertising here for them, but Dr. Pepper, in their adverts many, many years ago, they had it absolutely nailed when they used to say, try it, what's the worst that could happen? So ask yourself a couple of quick questions. What's holding you back? What is your fear? Okay. If there's an opportunity to learn by doing it anyway, what will that lesson be? And here's something really important. What is the consequence to achieving my goal if I get stuck here? Now, here's the thing. The consequence to stopping will generally be far bigger motivator than your actual fear of failure, the thing that's holding you back, okay? Give it some thought, and what you'll realize is fear only exists in the future. It's not happening now. This is something that you're worried that might happen. The potential is it might not even happen. So take that barrier away. Now, what you don't want to do is, with that fear that's in the future, you don't want it to impact on your success or achieving each goal now. Don't let it stop you. There's no need. Do it. Don't hold back. That's the big message from this. There is another thought though. Confidence for people can go up and down. Some people have it in spades. Some people have to work at it. But here's the thing. Right now, you don't believe in yourself. So what can you do about this? Well, sometimes people lose motivation because for some reason they don't believe in themselves right now. This can lead to self-sabotage. I don't believe myself, therefore I'm not going to do my best, or I'm not going to put the effort in, or I'm going to take a shortcut, which I know isn't going to work for me. What you can sometimes find is a little voice or a little coach inside your head that should be giving you praise, motivation, saying, well done, keep going, is telling you, you can't do it, so why bother? Now, the louder that voice becomes, the more painful and self-critical it can be. Now, often we're our own worst critics. So how do you get that coach helping you to move forwards and cheering you on every step of the way? Well, there's a couple of points to think about and answer here, okay? So, first of all, can you go back and think about something that you've accomplished in the past? Generally speaking, there's going to be something that you achieved that's going to enable you to do this. So there has been something accomplished before. What was it? There's no reason why you can't do it again. So think about this. What did you do? This is an important thing to do as well. How did it feel? Allow yourself to remember that success. Did it put a big smile on your face? Did you feel great about yourself? And again, think about here. How happy did it make you? Now, all those things will create those wonderful, powerful memories. Will make you think, do you know what? I want to feel like this again. So what can I do to get past this? Now, remembering these emotions can instantly put you in a better state of mind and put a smile on your face inside and out. You are ready to step forwards again. So think about things that you've achieved in the past. This will certainly help you move forwards, okay? Can you identify this limiting belief? Now, often this can be something that's happened earlier, in your life, and your mind's self-protection function has now programmed you or itself into your subconscious mind, holding you back on certain things. So if you can you remember for a moment what did happen? Then go back in time if you can and give the younger you some advice on what might you've done differently now, something that you've learned over the years or something that somebody's taught you, okay? If you do that, or when you do that, then imagine what the outcome would have been had you been able to use that piece of advice before. How would that have changed the outcome for you? Now, what that generally does is it allows you to release that block and allows you to realize that all you've learned in the years following that will allow you to make new decisions and release yourself from this roadblock. So something that happened a year ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, could have an impact on allowing you to move forwards now. So have a quick think, stop, what happened? Can you remember the situation? And if you could give yourself some advice now to get past that situation, what would it be? And what would the outcome be now? This will release that fear of failure and allow you to move forward. Makes sense? A real simple exercise, but really worthwhile, and it will have massive change in terms of moving you forwards, okay? So here's the thing again, ask yourself, what is my limiting belief? When did it first appear? When did it first show up? And what advice could the present me give to past me to overcome the obstacle? Okay. So if you feel like you've got too many things going on in your life, something to think about is this. Often your motivation can be affected by all that's going on. So when all your energy is being used up on your daily routines and you feel sat, what are you going to allow yourself to do? There's only so many things you can do in a day. So the first step might be, let's be kinder to yourself. Can you find some time to relax, sleep better, eat differently, and take some time to mentally switch off for a moment? The second thing is this. Can you think about things in your life that you can say no to? Now, there might be some things that are not as important to you as achieving your goal. Now, often there can be something you can switch out or switch off that'll be more fulfilling and helpful to helping you get to where you want to be, to achieving a daily goal, a weekly goal, or an ultimate goal, okay? The third step to think about is, can you from this make a plan? Plan for your month, plan for your week, plan for each day. A little bit of forward planning will allow you to work through tasks and allow you to find the time you didn't realize that you had, okay? And often you can get a great sense of achievement by ticking off all your tasks each day because you feel, again, sense of accomplishment, you feel good, you move forwards. Now, this is something that can often have an impact on people's motivations. Your goals take longer to achieve than you wanted them to. Now, as we said, people a lot of the time would like to achieve their success very quickly, but often things that are worthwhile take a little bit longer. So here's the thing, if you want to achieve your goals yesterday, or you're frustrated by the lack of results that you're feeling, you're thinking about giving up, don't. Hang on for a minute, because remember, progress at any speed is still progress, okay? So look at the positive straight away. Often, we have to get comfortable with the fact that things can take longer than we want them to allow us to be successful. Okay? People very often, and I see this a heck of a lot, overestimate how much they can achieve in 1 month and underestimate what they can achieve in 6. If it needs more time to get there, allow yourself the time. Make it work. Take away the frustration. Okay? Take a breather. Celebrate every single step you do to achieve where you want to get to. Each step you're going to take will add more motivation for you and help continue to the next one. Okay? You just need to take the time to recognize it. So the first thing is, if it's taking a bit longer, that's fine, as long as you're moving forwards. And then when you do achieve a step towards achieving your ultimate goal, don't forget to stop for a moment, pat yourself on the back, give yourself a little bit of a celebration, and it'll allow you to feel motivated to move on to the next thing. Okay? Keep on achieving those goals. So just a few final tips when it comes to your motivation. Your motivation and how motivated you are can change on a regular basis. So have a check on that every single day. How are you feeling today? How do you rate your motivation out of 10? Okay. Review how you are doing frequently. A daily check doesn't help. If you feel a drop in your motivation for some reason, ask yourself what's happened leading up to it. And can you remember what makes you feel motivated? Something to get you back on track. Remember this as well. Achieving a goal is a wonderful thing, but there are so many lessons you can learn along the way. So if you don't achieve a step, what did you learn that you can do differently next time? How can you set up a roadmap for success? Okay. And sometimes lessons will come in the form of experience. So sometimes help and frequently asking the right questions of yourself and others is important. Don't be afraid to talk to people that maybe you're seeing who look to be doing well. Is there something they can share with you? Is there something you can ask yourself? A previous experience that you can draw back on to give you the opportunity to keep going. Really important. Surround yourself with positive, supportive people who want to see you succeed. Okay? Not always easy, but if you can find people around you that believe in you, want to support you, I just want to give you a pat on the back now and again, great. They're wonderful people to talk to. Each goal that you get to, celebrate and get yourself ready for the next challenge. Enjoy that moment, then think about what's coming next. That's your motivation to keep moving forwards. Okay? Just one other thing to remember, this is really important. Your success will not satisfy you forever. Each time you succeed, don't get too comfortable. It's about moving forwards. Whatever you're doing, life is about learning. So always keep your eyes and importantly your mind open 100% of the time. Okay? So there's two sections to this review. And the first thing that I'd like you to do is answer the questions that you see in front of you right here on SMART. What I'd like you to think about is your motivations and what you want to accomplish. So start with the S, what is you want to accomplish and why. Move on to the M, how many and how much do you want to achieve. Work your way through that section until you've got something against each of those points, which allows you to start building your motivation and your plan for getting there. Okay, that's the first thing I want you to do. When you've completed that task, the next thing I'd like you to try and do is, can you now think about starting a success journal, a roadmap to ensure you get to where you want to go. What you're then able to do is log your success, how you felt, any barriers you overcame, and what reward or recognition did you give yourself each time you achieved something. But also importantly, how long did it take to achieve each step? This will then become your roadmap to success. If you see something that's working well, can you repeat it? Can you tweak it? Can you make it work even better? Constantly review it, see how far you've come and keep learning. It helps to keep you focused, okay? And there's loads of ways you can track a success journal. There's an example on the screen right here. It's also on the supporting notes that come with this session. Things like, you've got 3 headers, today's goal, this week's goal, this month's goal. But on there, it's got, what did I achieve today? How did it make me feel? So did it put a smile on your face? Did you feel warm and fuzzy? Whatever it happens to be. What barriers did I overcome? How did I reward myself? And how long did it take to get there? Now, keeping this in mind, we'll do lots of different things. I said it will help build that roadmap for success. But even things like, how did it make me feel? If it puts a smile on your face, makes you feel warm, whatever it happens to be, brilliant. Because if you're feeling a day when you're feeling a bit flat or not so inspired, can you get yourself to feeling this way again? What does it take? Think about what you've achieved before, get yourself in that positive state, and you'll be surprised how quickly you can change your mindset and move forward with the next thing, okay? So if you want, pause and complete this section now. However, we have actually come to the end of this particular session. So all I'm going to ask is, if there's any extra questions, drop me a line. You can email me at keith@yoursuccesssolutions.com, or if you prefer, you can phone me on 07 917 858 060. But either way, if there's anything at all that I can do to help, please let me know. Thank you again for your company. Hoping you found this useful, and look forward to seeing you again very soon. Thank you.